Welcome back. President Obama getting ready to reopen nuclear talks with Iran next week. This after explosive allegations that senior U.S. officials from his administration leaked information about an Israeli plan to use Azerbaijan as a staging ground for a possible attack on Iran. Joining us now from Jerusalem is the former Israeli ambassador to the UN and the president of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, Dore Gold. Nice to see you this morning, sir.
Good to be with you.
This news overnight about reopening six-party talks and trying to pressure the Iranian government to abandon that nuclear facility deep within the mountain range and to further stop enriching uranium. What is Israel's position on this, and do they think it will work?
Well, you know, we've had negotiations before. There were the EU3, there were the P5+1 in the previous decade. Now, the Iranians are always playing for time, and it is my personal belief that they just want to run the clock out. They want to achieve a full operational nuclear capability, which means that you've got to make sure that while you're talking to the Iranians, as a precondition of those talks, that the Iranians don't continue their enrichment. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself with a much larger stock of Iranian uranium, of low-enriched uranium, 20% enriched uranium, when those talks reach an end.
You talk about playing for time. I couldn't help thinking that perhaps the Obama administration doing the very same thing. We now know about these leaks that were coming out of the administration, senior officials of the administration, about Israel's plans to attack Iran. Is the Obama administration also playing for time?
Well, again, I don't want to get dragged into American domestic politics where they want to drag it out to November, these talks. But I will say this. We unfortunately have been witnessing a large number of leaks coming out of Washington about very sensitive issues related to Israeli security. And we don't understand what this is. I know that President Obama himself stated publicly on March 5th and has said repeatedly that, you know, he's against this kind of leaking. But if he prepared a memo for his administration, that memo didn't arrive to the people who were talking. When you look at the leaks in the New York Times in February or March, what you see is that the journalists are sourcing this material to quote American officials, unquote. Can you imagine if we were right before World War II in 1940 and information about sensitive British-American talks were appearing in the press? I mean, that would be unthinkable, and therefore it's really important not to erode the relations between the U.S. and Israel, our strategic relations, and put an end to this spate of leaks coming out of the U.S. On the Israeli side, Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it very clear to the officials working for him not to talk about these subjects.
I'm just wondering who stands to gain from this. You think an administration with the Iran problem in its back pocket, I mean, this is an issue for the Obama administration. Who stands to benefit from leaking this information publicly?
Well, in fact, it's the most self-defeating thing that could be done. If you think of why the Iranians are going to negotiations now, it's because they're concerned about two things. Drastic sanctions being put on them, some of them that will begin July 1st, and all the talk about Israel possibly having to defend itself with military measures. Now, if you have leaks coming out of Washington whose purpose is to tie the hands of Israel, then you're undermining your own negotiating card when you sit down with the Iranians, whether you sit down in Istanbul, Beijing, Baghdad, or wherever. And therefore, both from a military standpoint and from a diplomatic standpoint, these leaks about Israel's military capabilities are very, very bad.
Yeah, they just make little sense to me. Dore Gold, thank you for making sense of it for us this morning on this Easter Sunday. We appreciate you working with us this morning from Jerusalem. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays.